What's up, everybody? It's your favorite Ground Zero Clones favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the Bandai movie realization Ronin Jango Fett. This is on loan to me once again from Energon Addict, who's a good friend of mine, part of a show called Breaking the Mold, which you can check out on iTunes and YouTube. Unfortunately, I won't be hanging out with them very much anymore, since I've pretty much decided to go in on this line. No, both of them were great. I mean, they were really great. That's not the bad news. No, the figures were fine. The bad news is, Laura said we can't be friends anymore. No more hanging out. No more talking. Something about you being a bad influence and me being too weak of a person. I know. They be cray. But that's neither here nor there. This guy has a lot of accessories. Let's get talking about them. So they're all detailed the same. We'll talk about that when we go through the figure. But left and right arrow holding hands, I believe. Left and right sword holding hands. Left and right gun holding hands. And more sword holding hands or posed hands. So these, I think it kind of just depends on the style that you want to have him holding. We'll see if that changes as I look at the figure a little bit more. So he comes with a small arrow or spear, perhaps a little throwing, like a stiletto, maybe you might even want to call it. I'm not entirely sure. Silver finish to it, and then the wrap down here is all painted and then washed, which he can hold, or probably more often than not will be stored on his forearm. Comes with a small little sword. Once again, the cling is all painted and then washed, all sculpted. Painted silver for the blade. It fits into the sheath or scabbard or whatever you want to call it quite nicely. That whole ensemble can be stored right here on his belt. And he can hold the sword. He kind of has to choke up on it a bit to really get a nice grip with this hand. This hand is a little too tight for it, the one that holds the arrow. And then the more open hand can actually hold the scabbard if you want to have him pose like, you know, drawing the sword from it. He then comes with two guns. They're identical. They are sculpted and painted beautifully. The wood grain is actually sculpted into the wood, and then the silver is all painted, and then I think it's just paint. I don't see a wash on there, but it does look good. There might actually be some weathering effects. I'm not entirely sure, or it might just be the way that the paint adhered to it. But either way, it looks good. Real quick before I forget, the hammers also swivel as well. He holds it well, and it can be stored in his belt holster. Lastly, he comes with his rocket pack. Tons of detail here. First of all, these are on ball pegs down here, and the rocket is removable. Yikes, that is a tight connection and very scary. I'm not going to do that again. But it is removable. You can remove it. Tons of painted detail, airbrushing from the silver to the yellow and then into the turquoise at the top. The green is painted on, the silver is painted on, airbrush purple and turquoise down in this area, and the turquoise down on the bottom of the jet. And then it plugs into his back right there. Now, let's talk about the figure, because it is beautiful. Gimmick-wise, real quick, we do have the targeting scope, which can rotate down, so that's well done. And there's silver finish on there, red metallic paint. It looks beautiful. Let's zoom in a bit. So, the helmet sculpted well, blue paint, silver paint. The silver paint has a wash, like a weathering wash, around like the nuts and bolts, so to speak. Airbrush effect of turquoise and purple and orange throughout the back for a nice shading and metallic look. Beautifully done. And then we have this flap that covers down on the collar. The collar is a soft piece for a double ball peg from the head into the neck, getting you down to there, up to there, and a swivel. So you do lose some articulation due to the sculpt of the helmet, but I think it should be plenty for getting you what you want. I wish this piece sat a little tighter to the body, but that's about it. So for the chest, we have ball pegs that come out to disc hinges for the shoulders. That get you out to there and around. The shoulders themselves are on ball pegs so that you should be able to manipulate them, and they're a bit softer, so they should get out of the way nicely. The ball peg itself will allow you to get a little bit of a butterfly joint forward and back. Nothing crazy, but I think more than enough to make a good pose. The chest is all sculpted and painted silver and then washed with the black for nice shadowing, and then airbrushed on the back for different blue hues that end up giving it a nice metallic look. Single ball peg into the abdomen from the pelvis. And then we have the softer piece here, which covers down mostly on the joint. You see a little bit of a crack in the back, but it's not of a big deal. Crack in the back, packing the Mac in the back of the act. So you can swivel it, You can get the, no real teapot unless it's too tight. You can get a bit forward and a good bit back. You have a bicep swivel that's built into the disc hinge at the bottom. Then you have this nice blue metallic armor with a nice weathering underneath of an orange and rustish effect on it. Looks beautiful. Double hinged elbow, get you the full range. The gauntlets are all painted silver, and then they have that weathering effect on them as well as some shading details. Nicely sculpted. And then the wrists are the same that we saw on Darth Maul. That is to say, they swivel at the forearm and the wrist so you can get hinge in, out. And then if you can get this to turn, it's a tight joint, you'll get up, down. Operates the same way though. I'm just not willing to fight with it at the moment. Same exact thing for this side, except you have the extra piece there where you can clip the arrow in. The belt is a soft piece of floating plastic. Tons of sculpt work, tons of details. The holster bit of business is actually plugged in underneath and glued into the side flaps here, which are then glued into the legs. So it should stay fairly solid, which is nice. All of the brown is painted brown and then washed with a darker brown to give a nice, and then sculpted to the nines to give a nice leathery look. And then the studs are all painted. The buckle and the little pouches are all painted. The green rope underneath is painted and washed. This is painted and washed. The silver is painted and weathered. And then down here is painted, airbrushed, and weathered. Good golly, Miss Molly. Really well done. T-jointed ball joints for hips, but because of all the junk on his side, you can only really get them out to there, but I think it's more than enough. And then forward and back to there, I'm not going to push it much further than that. Thigh swivel is built around the ball peg. It's not the greatest range, but I think it should be enough. The pants are all sculpted and have a nice detailing down them, like to give a texture to the pants, and then the little pleats at the bottom. Double jointed knee with the knee sculpted, as we've kind of come to expect. And then the ankle guards, or shin guards rather, are all painted, weathered, painted, airbrushed, painted, weathered, and airbrushed, painted, weathered, airbrushed, and washed, or just sculpted to the nines. No complaints from me. And then you have a ball hinge ankle, which gets you your ankle tilt up, tilt down, and then where it plugs into the foot, you get a swivel for an ankle rocker. Not an awful lot to complain about, folks. There it is from the back. Final thoughts wise, are you ready for my list of negatives? Here they go. Some of the joint tolerances are a little tight. That's it. That's all I got. It's really, really well done. The joint tolerances seem to be a little tight on this line across the board. I'm not sure why that is, since Bandai makes so many figures that rarely have joint issues. But with these guys, they certainly have an issue. But that's it. Oh, by the way, look at the elbow joint right there. Let me zoom in on that unit a little bit. That elbow joint, that's sculpted. Crazy. The paint is beautiful, the sculpt is beautiful, the articulation works great, the accessories are all thoughtful, smart, and clever, and most importantly, appropriate. The hand choices allow you a ton of options, the presence is strong, the materials are great. Definitely recommend for me. Once again, it's going to help if you have a strong attachment to the character or are okay with stylized realizations. Thanks for listening, thanks for watching, until next time, take care.